All right, all right. I said that I'll do it, so I am doing it. What? Let me see. All right. It's go time. I said I was going to do it, so I am doing it. This is Mortar Mike, and this is a Watch Your Realms video, and this is your plan or perish video for the ominous Styx boss that's coming tomorrow morning. You may have a different name in the hard difficulty, but in this one here, I'm seeing him as ominous Styx. But my goal right now is to give you guys a good idea of champions that will be really good options for this battle. This is going to be the last one. According to a lot of people who've played on the Forerunner server, this is one of the harder bosses. Mainly because he gets so much shield that is very difficult to break the shield, and thus you get wiped because he has this giant AoE attack that knocks you guys all out in one hit. But there is a saving grace to it. The best thing that you can build on your champions for this content, thank God for Gear Swap, is attack speed. So if you have a champion that has specialized attack speed, lovely for this content. In most chances, there's one that doesn't do a good job. If I find them by the end of this video, I'll throw them in there as an image or something, but they don't do a good job, even though it says specialized attack speed. It's a trick. But let's start off with your list. I have a pretty lengthy list, actually, of options. I wonder if I can zoom this in. I cannot zoom it in, so I got to move it over to the side. All right. Okay, so the way I went about this was to make it easier for you guys. I broke it down by classes. So the classes of champions you have: fighters, defenders, marksmen, healers, mages. And before I even go forward with that, I will say this: attack speed is more important than attack damage in this version. Damage is still good, but from what I've been learning, just asking a couple different people who've done the content, the more shields you can break, which does get very difficult as we go forward, the more shields we can break, the more damage you actually do during the phases. So it's kind of like a multiplier that scales according to what level of shield you've broken. So attack damage doesn't matter as much, because if your champions aren't fast enough, you're not breaking that shield anyway. So the goal is to break the shield and then get as much damage in as you can in that phase. Now, jumping into the list, what I did was I wanted to make this simple for you guys. I just went ahead and said, let's just go into the gallery and look at the champions. But before I say that, last but not least, before I say anything, this is a good thing, is that you can change, you can practice your champs, you can practice your comps in the normal version. I haven't really upgraded my list, my build, my team here yet, but I'm gonna do a run at the end of this to see if I can get a higher number than I have right now, which I'm pretty sure I can because I got some new additions to the roster. But I just experimented with a few ideas. I'm going to give you guys some tricky ideas too that I didn't think were great ones until I started doing homework, and I was like, it's a possibility they can be awesome. So, starting off the list, practice your comps. Practice them. It's free. You can do it 100 times before you get into the match, and then when you jump into the match, your stuff is A1 ready to go, which is nice. All right, let's hop into the gallery. The first group that we have that we're going to be pulling from are the fighters. So, the first one that I recommended as a fighter, and it's funny, I'm skipping down on the list early, is going to be Voro. Voro is going to be a pretty accessible champ for most people. A lot of people call him the baby Falsia because he does a lot of fast attack damage in his ultimate. This right here, if you see specialized attack speed, it's a pretty good indicator that your champion is going to be great for this content. Pretty good indicator. But what's the best thing about this guy here? His basic attack only hits one enemy with a 15 chance to land a concussive hit. So I don't know if that means a second attack, but the first attack is good, but that's not as relevant. Here's the reason why he's so good. Right here, Northwind Axe. Increases attack speed by 800. That stacks along with what you already have as well. And starts to deal rapid dual-wielding strikes, each increasing attack speed by 100, stacking up to 1400. This attack lasts for 11 seconds. This attack lasts for 11 seconds. So after the first 6 hits, he's pretty much at max speed and doing incredibly fast damage in an 11-second window, which is plenty of time to get a lot of hits in. That's really going to help you with that number. I think that he's a great option for people just because he's just easy to get. I say easy to get because he's easier to get in legendaries. He has some other stuff in his kit also. He can do whirlwind slashes and stuff, but that's not nearly as relevant in this content. That was my first option. In fighters, I would say the king, well, and it's funny to say it, the queen of this content is probably going to be Falcia. Mainly because her attacks do physical and magical damage, which I believe is counted individually as separate hits in this content. So when she's attacking, they're double hits immediately, but she has this ability, her ultimate. First, it only lasts 3.5 seconds, but it deals normal damage 5 times and magical damage 5 times. That's why I believe the passive attack is 2 hits. I don't have her, so I can't really see it in combat, but I'm assuming it's 2 hits. But that's 10 hits in her ultimate, which is good. That's good. But that's not the main reason we like her. The main reason we like her is after she's done a few attacks, she enters demon slaying stance for 25 seconds and gets specialized attack speed. And she attacks crazy fast. And if you want an idea of how this works, demon slaying stance, increase your damage, you get a little extra damage if you have your shield, stuff like that, which is nice. But the biggest part is that this right here, basic attack would deal an extra 100% true damage. Shadow Slash would deal 200% true damage 5 extra times. That doesn't sound like that right here, but here's the reason why I say that. If she is popping her ultimate at the time that you need to use it during this content, it might take a little time to get used to it. It's even easier when she's awakened, because she drops right in starting, which is really awesome. But she would be probably one of your best options, if not the best option for this content. It's just no. I'll take that back. There are some marksmen that show up pretty nicely. But as a fighter, she's one of your best options if you have her. If you got her, put her to work. Next one we have is going to be a champion that I learned there was a 10x for, and I think this is right when I started playing, so I missed out. Deos. Deos is probably, no, I'll probably will take back the other option. I would say Deos may be the best melee option for this content because of this reason right here. His ultimate ancestral presence increases max HP by 100. That's not necessarily as important. Attack and defense by 20%. That's neat. Biggest part, each basic attack lands 4 consecutive strikes. This effect lasts 20 seconds. If you are seeing him in action, he is ripping and tearing the entire time, and it's just 4-piece after 4-piece after 4-piece. And I do wonder, because it says his basic attack lands 4 consecutive strikes, I do wonder if that works with the artifact. I believe it's the Watchguard's Fortune. There's like 4 different Watchguard artifacts. I believe if that works for him, he's about to get like 8 hits every time he does an attack, which is marvelous and would be wonderful for this content. So I really think that if you have him, and since there's a 10x to get him, it's a good chance you guys can have fun with him. Next up, this is more of a B tier option. Not an amazing option, but the reason why I say that is the reason that I'm going to say at the end of this video. Champions that do damage 2 times per attack will become more useful in this content. As more of last resort options, they're not going to be the first ones you start with, but they're great options to have in case you can't fill those gaps, or you have a newer account, or you just haven't pulled as many summons, and you're just short on champions. Komodo's a decent option for you to use as well. On top of that, he increases his attack speed for 35 seconds. It's not by a whole lot. It's by 60 initially, and it can go to 100, which is good. His initial range is 400, so that is a really, really good boost to get him getting into the fight and getting damage going, which is nice. I don't believe this does anything extra. Yeah. No, my apology. Each attack has a 50% chance to deal 230% damage. I don't believe that's an extra hit. I could be wrong, but I don't think that counts as an extra hit for him. If somebody knows it, pop it in the comment section if I'm wrong about that. But it's a great backup option for you guys. Now, I'll let you guys know this is going to be a pretty lengthy list, so I hope you guys are ready for us to get into the nitty gritty and start breaking down which of these champions are going to be solid ones. The next one I'm going to give you guys, and all of my stuff is blocking myself on screen. This is a last resort option for melee fighters. Where is she? Shelor. The only reason I'm saying Shelor is because I'm not sure how her blood surge, I think it's her ultimate, works. So Blood Surge increases her attack by 20% and attack speed by 40 for 20 seconds. That is not a lot. But the level 2 and the level 4 attack speed increase by 20%. I'm wondering if that means if it's a mistype, if it's a misprint, and it's 20%, which makes it go up by 6, go up to 60 and then go up to 80, or if it's just another 5% Or another 8%, another 8 increase, which would not be nearly as good. Another 16 at the most is not that great. So if that was an option, she would be kind of useful. And also, like I said before, attacks deal damage to one enemy twice. So there is a chance that there may be useful in this. But like I said, this is a last resort option. This is not the ones you start the team comp with. You look at your other options too. And speaking of other options, we will now move into the defenders. What's cool about the defenders faction is defenders will not be good in this content. Defenders will be trash in this content. As far as I've noticed, I couldn't find a defender that says I do a lot of fast damage and I'm viable for this content. That's just being honest. If you know one that I don't know that does damage quickly or burst damage, let me know in the comments. Show me up. Show me that I'm missing something. Show me I'm wrong about that. But I stand pretty strongly that defenders may not be the best option in this unless you're getting buffs. Like an Azor. His ultimate can have a decent pace going, but it's not a fast pace. But it gives everybody shields, which isn't really necessary if you go to break shields. But it gives increased attack, which may be a really good option after you've broken the shield. But you really have to have all your bases covered on breaking the shield first. So I would not recommend trying to find support options until you have the attack speed on your champs and the abilities to break the shields down. So that was defenders. Next up, we have marksmen. What's interesting about marksmen, to me, I think marksmen are going to be your bread and butter for this content. There's a couple other factions that are going to be good support options, but I think marksmen are going to be where most people find their attack damage, their attack count in this content. So, starting off with Hatet. What I like about Hatet is her initial attack is a double hitter, hits 2 times, and and we don't have to worry about the extra part. But it hits 2 times on her initial attack. And also her ultimate does damage to 5 enemies. You're only hitting 1. Dealing 100% AoE damage doesn't matter as much every 0.3 seconds. Lasting for 3 seconds. I do not know if this scales even faster with her attack speed. It doesn't say if it does or it doesn't. So it'd be interesting to know if it does. But that's really good burst damage. That's in 3 seconds. And right when she's done, she's going right back into her single attacks again. If she gets the watch guard option that allows her to do additional... Wait, is there a marksman one that has additional hits? I don't believe so. So I guess just be out of luck for that. But in 3 seconds, she's landing... I don't have Hatet. But what is that? Is that another 10 hits or so? Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. 1, 2, 3... Yeah, I would say around like 10 hits or so in 3 seconds. That's pretty useful. It's not the world's greatest, but it's pretty useful. In this case, the world's greatest, I have to just skip down and get straight to her. The world's greatest is going to be Tozer. Easily. Because, for one, she only does a single hit on her initial attack. That's not the greatest part. But the next attack performs 2 strikes for every 6 attacks. That's one thing to keep in mind. That is useful. And also, within 6 seconds, rapidly shoots at the enemy with the highest HP and range. There's only 1 enemy. Each shot dealing 60% damage. The default attack interval of the skill is 0.33 seconds, but it becomes shorter as a hero's attack speed increases. Give her crazy attack speed and let her do this ultimate, which is very easy to get up by that, the number isn't that high. 6 second cooldown, 6 second time frame, she lands out a ton of hits. I've seen a lot of people use her in the in-game options or the in-game teams to try to break the shields on the Forerunner server. And she seems like a really good option for this content. She's not really the strongest marksman out of the 4 ones that you get at the beginning of the game. I think, what are they? Theowin, Idra, Brienne, and Tozer. I think I might be wrong with Theowin. I don't know. But Tozer is amazing for this content. Now, I know I did just say that, but along with that, the other option that is great is going to be Idra. Idra mainly because the initial attack does just 2 hits, which is great. That's going to be nice. That's just going to be useful, same as Tozer. But, no, not Tozer. Tozer has single shots, but same as Hatet in a sense. This is the reason why. Limitless shots. It lasts for 15 seconds. You can get it to 25 seconds. In this case, it won't be much longer than like in the other content where you get kills as she goes A5 and it continues to extend it. It's just one target here. but every attack is 3 hits for 15 seconds straight. And you can give her a decent amount of attack speed, and she just doesn't stop attacking. It's just boom, 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 and those numbers add up really nicely in this content. So Idra's a really good contender also. I do recommend, if you have her, I'm pretty sure you do, there's a 25% chance you got her in the first hour if you're playing. But, you know, I do recommend that you try her out because it's just a lot of hits. And it's fairly easy to keep her ready for the next ability. I don't think you're not going to reach that ultimate number by the time you get there. And plus, if she's upgraded, you know, you start with 200 more rage and your skill cost goes down to 1,000. So it's a very easy option. Had to mention her in there. Next, I think that this might be either the undisputed queen or the second place queen. I think this might actually be the queen in this content altogether. Surprisingly, because people don't like the champion because they can't find a good place to use her. But here, she is great, and that is Calypso. Calypso, you see the thing, you see that one title on the side that says late game. That is for this content. They call it late game because it's late into the battle is when she becomes like insane. So, this part doesn't seem like much. Passive attack deals 100 damage to one enemy, prioritizing airborne units. That doesn't sound like much, right? Let's add this on. Seal Stone is her ultimate. She automatically does it. She summons a Seal Stone that deals damage equal to 20% attack to the target every time Calypso attacks. Up to 4 can exist at one time. So that means every time she attacks, it's 5 hits. And if you want to know a little bit more about the Seal Stones, let's tap it. There we go. Oh, my face is blocking it. Attacks together with his summoner. That's basically what it's saying. You can't see it here, but that's what it means. Attacks together with his summoner. Now, why is that awesome? After 9 attacks, the next attack deals 150% damage. Each Seal Stone increases damage by 10%. So she's also going to be doing heavy damage on top of her doing up to 5 hits at a time. And if you notice, that Seal Stone skill cost is not expensive. It could be knocked down all the way to 500. And if you have a Rage Regener on the team, she'll have these things up by the time the second shield's up. They'll all be ready, which is really nice. And last but not least, the caster of Sealstone gain an Eldritch God's Blessing every 35 seconds, triggering 2-hit combos on attacks for 6 seconds, which means those are now 10-hit attacks. Every attack. You give her attack speed, and if you look at her attack speed here, her attack speed is only every 2 seconds. You can get that down to 1 second, honestly. You really can kick some butt with this stuff. And she's doing insane amounts of hits. And you don't have to wait to use a burst damage or a special ult for it to pull off. It just happens. She just stays there and just does tons and tons of hits, which is lovely. Next option, I just happened to get this guy. I'm thankful to get him. None other than Cetrum. Cetrum. For one reason and one reason only. Fortress Stance. Well, I won't say one reason only, but in this content, the one that matters the most is Fortress Stance. It doesn't show it in his talent any extra content, does it? Nope, just Fortress Stance. Okay. Switches to Fortress Stance and increases attack range for 15 seconds. That doesn't matter as much. During the skill, constantly bombards targets with continuous attacks that deal 25% damage and gradually increase attack speed, Enter overloaded when reaching the attack speed limit. Attack speed limit is just when he shoots as fast as he can shoot, basically. Overconsumes energy and increases damage by 50%. Will enter a worn out state for a while after this effect ends. Why is this great? This attack is so freaking fast. It's like, it's a Gatling gun based, over and over and over a Gatling gun. Also, why is this amazing? Because 2 things. His attack interval does not seem like a lot here. People usually build him for attack speed because he's such a juggernaut and doing crazy damage and high amounts of attack. But if you also give him the artifact that's inside the game right now, I think it's Oblivion something. But if you give him that artifact, it lasts for 5 more seconds in the overloaded phase, if I'm not mistaken. I want to make sure. Yeah. Overload when reaching the yeah. So that means that part of him doing that overloaded damage is going to be more time. The cooldown time will be longer, but that doesn't matter as much because you've done the damage when you needed to do it. If you do it early enough, you can probably knock down the shield. If you've got enough shield, you've got enough team players that are already able to take care of the shield, use his ultimate later to end the shield, like halfway through the shield. And now you can do a ton of damage while the enemy is stunned. So Setram is going to be one of the linchpin options for this content. If you have him, you got to put him in there because he's going to do so many hits, which is lovely for this content. Next up, this is a champion that I didn't know a whole lot about, but now I'm paying more attention to, and that's Sargo. But I'm going to be honest with you. He's a great option, but you probably need to have the right team around him for it to work out. Mainly because, just start initially, that's a single target attack. That's not very amazing. But his ultimate, he reduces 10% of his current HP per second, reduces defense by 30% and attack, and increases attack by 20%. Additionally, each basic attack lands 2 consecutive strikes, so that's a nice option. I will say it's not a bad option in this content because you're probably going to have a healer on the team that can keep you guys in the mix. But more importantly, this game mode gives you an auto heal as you do damage. So it's like a life steal basically, like a leech version, a leech attack. So it's a good way to guarantee that he can still stay in the fight. It's going to be losing a good bit of HP, but adding on to that, his passive velocity. Look, bellicosity. There we go. Yeah, increases attack speed by 6 for every 1 HP loss. He loses 10 attack speed. He loses 10 HP, 10% HP every few seconds in here. Every second. Oh, for 15 seconds. So if he stays alive, that becomes insane. But that's why I say you have to have the right team around him because he could just off himself in this content, which is not great. The effect of specialized attack speed is stronger when HP is lower. I do not have this champion. I would love to see how this champion operates with that specialized attack speed and how fast they truly can do damage. Another thing they just added right here, when it's below 40%, it increases damage, and they add, bleed, immobilize, all kind of other things. We don't have to worry about that as much. The biggest thing in this content is attack speed. Last but not least, I will be remiss. I think that's the right term I'm using here. Remiss, yes. If I did not include everybody's favorite newer hero in the game, and that is Hex. Now, what's interesting about this is Hex is a little conflicting to me because sometimes I hear that he's amazingly fast because his ultimate increases his speed by, I think, by like another 100. Let's make sure. Yeah, by 100, which is awesome. But also, he has slow animations at times, so he doesn't do a whole bunch of fast damage at the same time. I don't know if that's how people are building the champion that they're getting that problem, but whenever I see somebody says increases attack speed by 100 and reduces the attack interval by 50%, I'm going to think that he attacks very fast. And then he does the Joker ability, which deals 400% damage 3 times and inflicts burning for 5 seconds. So that's a 30-second duration. So every hit is a triple hit and it applies burning. So that's additional damage. I don't know if those damage ticks count as hits, but that is a really good way to make sure that you're getting a lot of consistent hits. That is an upgraded version of Idra's ultimate. It lasts 5 seconds longer and he gets a bigger boost in attack speed. So if his attack animations aren't that lengthy, he will be wonderful in this. Next up, we're moving into the healer section. Now, what's interesting about healers are a little bit simpler. In this content, heals aren't as important as the other things that the champions can do. If they can do heals, that's great. If they have wide range, magnificent. But you want champions that can do additional things like boost attack. You want champions that can boost rage. You want champions that can add buffs to your champions, or if they can decrease, like the resistance of the enemy, then those are good options. You want more than just heals in this content. You have to be mindful of what you're doing, which is landing attacks. So that being said, have a few options. Of course, you already know that Elowen's on the list. Why would Elowen not be on the list? Seriously. But the whole kit is nice. That's awesome. But the biggest thing that I'm concerned about right here is Nature's Favor. Restores rage every 5 seconds for all allies equal to 1% of their rage caps. And if you see 1%, that goes to 3%, and that's every 3 seconds. That is insane rage regen. Probably the best in the game. There's some other ones that have great timing, great abilities, but I don't think anybody's topping Elowen as far as consistent rage regen without even have to have other. You could put her in the game with no gear, and she would do this as long as she's alive. So Elowen would definitely be the #1 option for this content. Next option is actually going to be a lord by the name of Leia, the Heart Player. You already see on the screen rage regen. Right here, restores 10% rage for all allies in range immediately. This is the ultimate. Afterwards, restores 1% rage for them every 2 seconds, lasting for 2 seconds. This effect doesn't affect the hero's rage, so she doesn't get the benefit, but they do. And then you can also see the rage interval increases. It drops by half a second to a full second altogether. And the rage regen per second is increased by 0.6%, and the skill cost drops another 200 as you book her. Wonderful chance, not to mention she's also a lord, so she gets the extra attack bonus to the entire team. And what else did I put down in here? Oh, also the damage increase. I think that's one of her additional abilities right here. When the ultimate is triggered, applies a damage increase to all allies in range and increases their damage by 5% every 5 seconds, stacking up to one time. This effect lasts until the ultimate is over. That sounds great. Here's the next part. When all allies in range release their ultimates, they restore HP equal to 150% Elias healing multiplier. So that means she's consistently doing this. Every time you guys pop it, I don't know why I thought she was the one that has a permanent version of this. I may be wrong. Well, let's see. Yeah, last 5 more seconds. Now she could do it on herself with the rage. Yeah, so it wasn't extra. So there's another champion that allows it to continue. Oh, I know which one that one is. That's actually 2 champions next. 2 champions up. I do not think that this champion is going to do as great as I'm thinking in my head, but I'm a bit of a dreamer. I'm a bit of a dreamer. With, how do you even say her name? Carnelian? Yeah, with Carnelian, she's more of a meme champ, but her heals deal hits eventually. That's the only real reason I even brought her in the list. But you'd rather have proper heals and good rage regen here. I just said that I like the option that she does hits, but Lightlock does the same thing. I would not recommend her unless your champions are somehow dying mid-mission, because she has some abilities to keep your champions from dying and get unyielding, which is nice. But in this content, I would not say she's one of the top choices in this. Interestingly enough, Desomi was great in the second boss. Don't use Desomi here. Next up, this is the champion that I was thinking about earlier. This is Yomia. Yomia, bounce heal and buff. Bounce heal is great because it allows you to heal outside of your initial range. So that's really good for healers that have bounce heal. Attack-based healing, that's nothing really amazing. But right here, this is the part. And this works just like what is the Abomination? It works just like Abomination's passive in the sense that after the second time it happens, it becomes permanent. When activated, increases attack speed by 100 and grants attack speed increase to all allies in range. And I believe that's another 100 attack speed. This can last another 10 seconds and can come down to 700 in the cost, which is awesome. And it lasts for 20 seconds. Giving them attack speed increase. The effect becomes permanent after the skill's second activation. So that means your champions will be doing crazy fast hits, crazy fast damage. The extra 100 attack speed just permanently on them is nothing to sneeze at. Really good option. It's funny because I had to sneeze this entire time. Hope you guys didn't notice until I said it. And there's the buff to spell. You don't really have to worry about that. And then, your heal bounce multiply increases as you use it, which is nice. Good options to have there. Next one we have, and I'm going through the list. We're about a little over halfway done already. But the next one I'm going to mention is one that is hard for people to get, but great for this content as a filler option for your teams, which is going to be Hollow. Hollow, one, because in this content you don't need heavy heals. You just need decent heals. Her ultimate takes care of that. Ultimate, it allows her to heal 2 champions at once. Over and over, she just throws out 2 heals instead of 1 heal, which is wonderful. But the main reason people use Hollow is for rage regen. 2 reasons. This option right here, that doesn't look like much now, but Awaken, it does help. Also, here's Energetic Bliss. When Light of Bliss is activated, which is her ultimate lasts 20 seconds, y'all. She recovers 0.6% rage for allies in range every 1 second. If you don't know, her range is stupid wide. It's Vortex style. You max it out. It's freaking crazy. It's wide. It's great. But along with that, that is lasting for 20 seconds. Now, if you've looked, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. So that makes it 1.4% rage for 20 seconds. I think that's great enough. That's great. That's everybody on the team being able to get the ults more often. You don't have to wait until the shield. You can just get extra damage in the phase if you have the right champions for it. Here's what makes it even better. Each heal restores 1% rage of rage cap per heal that she does throughout the content. Rage cap goes down by another 100. So the ability that you just saw here, this goes down. You see the skill cost makes it down to 900. This brings it down to 800. So she gets her ability more often, which gives them abilities more often. But the big reason is right here. And I'm going to just move myself for this. How about that? Each cast of Light of Bliss increases the efficiency of accumulating rage by 15% until the battle ends up to 5 stacks. So she can get her rage up to 75% better or more efficiently as the content goes on. The longer the content is, the better she performs. Great option. Great option. If you have Hollow, you probably could have got it in the most recent 10Xs. I think she did 2 of them so far. She's a great choice for you to use for this content. Now, last but certainly not least is going to be Nasandi. Nasandi, because she has 2 things that are going to be amazing for this content. The first one is going to be this ability right here, which bounces. Now, when she does her ultimate, it bounces to different targets 3 times. So she's healing way outside of her range. And if I'm not mistaken, she doesn't have amazing range. She has pretty good range, but she doesn't have the wide range. Yeah, she has a far out range. So the bounce heals allows her to reach champions that are outside of her initial range, which helps. But this right here is the main reason why I think she's going to be amazing. And pause this right here. Yeah, inflicts attacks. I love how it says inflicts, like she's hurting them. Attack speed increase on all heroes within their attack range every 40 seconds. But what's crazy about that is that's not necessarily reliable, and it's actually 44 seconds as you boost it, because you have to really plan around that. So if the boss shields fall within that, that's great. But the good thing about this is it's an additional 50 attack speed for all allies in range. So you can put her on the left side and aim her to the right, or vice versa, and she's going to give that to them very consistently. Like I said before, the bounce heals are going to be great as well. I have not ventured into her awakens. Her mania duration is 4 more seconds, which is the one that you start with. Well, the ability that gives her attack speed to the entire team. Going to 3, when on the field, increases attack speed for all deployed heroes by 30. That's a flat out 30 on everybody, whether they're in range or not. It doesn't say in range. So it's everybody on the team, which is lovely. And triggers mania when casting the ultimate skill, Chain of Healing. So here's something that's really cool about that. I don't know if it still triggers on its own, because if it does, that's twice the opportunity you can use for that, which would be lovely. But I do not know if it does that. I might have to theory test that and try that out. This is just me theory crafting on that. Next section, and I jumped out of the entire gallery. We're going to go into the last but not least section, mages. And what's crazy about mages is most mages are typically slower damage dealers, because a lot of them do AoE damage. A lot of them work on fighting crowds, so they usually hit a little slower and then hit more enemies at once. What's interesting to me is that I found a lot of mage options for this content. Like, I mean, a lot of them. Starting off with the first one, you're going to laugh at this. This is more theory crafting for this champion, but hear me out when I show you. Lasir. This is my personal opinion, because I'm using him right now. I need to actually test to see if it's working, but his initial attack doesn't do much. Deals 100% damage up to 5 enemies. But if you see the talent, basic attack and ominous sandstorm, which is his ultimate, apply sand erosion on the target, stacking up to 3 times. What's sand erosion? Sand erosion is a 10-second debuff that deals magic damage equal to 10% of the caster's attack per second. That's 10 seconds of a consistent attack that stacks up to 3 times. So he may be doing a regular attack, which is a regular hit, but if he's doing 3 hits every second, that is insane. That is 30 hits every 10 seconds. And he's never running out of using it. It stacks up to 3 times. He's gonna get 3 hits in within 10 seconds. And it's just gonna be a debuff that continuously does damage. I have not been able to confirm this yet. I'm gonna try it out right after I talk about this and see if that happens. If so, he's gonna be one of the best options for this, because this is not even him using his ultimate or other special abilities. It's just consistent hits. You don't even have to worry too much about attack speed on that. You could just build them up for damage in that case. The way I built them, I didn't build them for attack speed. I built them for damage, for that ult that does 700% attack damage as he lands it, which is lovely. And I think if you level it up, it does more. Yeah, it goes up even higher. Yeah, it goes up to 700. My apologies. No, 800. And anti-healing, which you don't have to worry about in this content. But I'm willing to believe that if Sand Erosion does what I think it does, this is going to be one of the premium options for this content, because he's consistently doing a ton of damage. And not necessarily a ton of damage, but he's consistently doing a ton of hits. And his ultimate is a really good amount of burst damage. So I really think Lasir is something you guys should be checking out. Surprised you, didn't I? Another champion, I was gonna mention Derza, but he's probably gonna get you killed. I'm not gonna waste your guys' time. He just gives a little bit of attack speed to champions around him, but it costs everybody their health. So it's not the most amazing option. But now what's surprising to me, this guy I have to do a little more homework on, I'll be honest. Alistair is a fusible champion. Most of you guys are getting him right now, especially if you're buying the summon shards from the stores during this event. His attack, his skills depend on how many attacks he does and how fast his attack speed is. The faster his attack speed is, the more things are added into his attack. He gets more radiant erosion. He gets more damage dealt. He does like true damage. You know, he does additional damage if you get to the max stacks. I think it's good, but that's asking for a lot for this champion to be amazing. Now, that being said, he's not out the box of saying that he's not a good champion. I just haven't built him because I haven't acquired him yet. I'm like 16 away or like 12 away. And so I haven't gotten him yet, and so I'm not going to be the guy to close the door on it, but I do think that he's very intensive in the stuff he needs to do a lot of attacks, and I don't know if a lot of attack count as a lot of hits in this content. So I don't want to set you guys up for failure and say he's amazing. If somebody else says it, give them credit. But that being said, I'm going to switch it over to this guy that I do think is going to be a great option, even though I don't have him. That is Prus. Prus, it says late game again. You know what that means. Lots of stuff happens towards the end of the fight. And you'll also see continuous damage and true damage. There's a lot of damages going on. Let's talk about the kit. Deals 100% magic damage to one enemy. That's not amazing. But Divine Truth during the ultimate increases attack by 30%. If there's only one enemy in range, inflicts 3 stacks of Radiant Erosion. Radiant Erosion, let's show it here, deals true damage based on the carrier's defense every 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 stacks. Up to 3 stacks. We just saw something very similar to Lasir doing this exact same thing. He does it through his ultimate, and if you notice, his ultimate is at 50% charge when he starts, and you can knock another 100 out to make it 700. And it's manual, so you can time when you want to do it. If there's more than one enemy in range, you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't matter as much. Here's when he becomes insane, though. Summons 1 Light of Judgment. For every basic attack launched, and this is every 20 seconds, for every basic attack launched by the hero, Light of Judgment also deals 30% damage to the target. Light of Judgment is basically a minion, the same thing as Calypso. So it's a minion that attacks with him. I don't think it has a time limit. The hero can have up to 5 instances of Light of Judgment at the same time. Now, I don't know if he can, I think he can pull off that many. That's only a minute and 40 seconds into the fight. He'll have 5 of these. So that attack that you saw at the beginning, that's going to be a 6-hitter, which is awesome. It's contended with Calypso, but Calypso gets to 10, which is even better. During the ultimate, the hero's basic attack deals 40% extra true damage, and Light of Judgment deals 20% extra true damage. Now, these count as individual hits. he is going to be in the money. He's going to be insane. If it doesn't count as additional hits, it's still a lot of attacks that you can get from a mage, even though they don't have the best attack speed. Looking at our guy right here, 2.6, that's pretty average on attack speed for mages. It's not amazing for any champion by far, but that many hits consistently without having to pop ults over and over to get it is going to be very viable in this content. Next up, we have I'll put this champion in here because I think that since everybody has this champion, they already have this champion built. So it's an option that you can use. You won't get the damage you want. But Mari, because everybody's probably already built her for attack speed. That's just the main thing I was thinking. Along with that, you got your original attack here, and then she has a chance to cast 3 Icicle at 3 random targets inflicting slow. It says 3 random targets, and so if it's only 1 target on the screen, I don't know if it just continuously hits the same target because it counts as random because it's just another one. It doesn't say up to 3 targets. It says 3 random targets. So there's a chance that I'm believing that they all hit the same target, which means there's a lot of attack that's landed on the same thing at once. All the other stuff isn't necessarily as important to know. Now, this is also great. Attack trigger icicles inflict slow. You know, if they get slow inflicted, which I don't think is going to make him move any differently, so I don't know if it shows up at all. But you get the vulnerability of physical and magic damage that starts at 10, and it wakes, you know, and actually, no, I'm sorry, it's at 10 or both. All right, yes. So it's decent. It's not amazing, but it's a viable option since you already probably have her built. Try her out in there, see how many hits you get in there. That may actually help out your team. It's more of a last resort option, but since you already have her, here's a great option here. Next, I'm going to mention the champion that caught me off guard, and I think she's going to be amazing. So Leo. So multi-strike attack. This champion is going to be amazing for one reason and one reason only. Right here, her passive attack interval already increases by 30%. So this attack interval that she has of 2.6 automatically increases by 30% as far as being faster. That's number 1. Number 2, her basic attack is permanently converted into 2 fireballs in quick succession, each dealing 80% damage. So it's already a 2-hitter with a 30% attack decrease of how often you have to worry about how long it takes for attacks to land. The ultimate, each attack bounces up to 5 targets. Bounces 2 up to 5 targets. So the first hit and then 5 bounces because it bounces from the first one to the others. Deals 130% damage to each. This effect lasts for 26 freaking seconds. That is a long time. Here's why that's amazing. A1, she gets a vibrant flame cooldown of 30% so she can pull it off even more often. Awaken 3, attack interval another 10% shorter. But here is the winner. This ability right here. I'm going to move my stuff so you guys can read it too. Awaken 5, Vibrant Flame can now bounce on the same target multiple times to deal damage, with the maximum possible bounces increased by 2. So she was already doing 1 hit plus 5. Now it's 1 hit plus 7 on the same target at fully awakened. And that also doesn't say that she only does it 1 attack at a time. So she has a few of these bounce on it at once. That's madness of how many hits that you're getting on the same target at once. I do think if you have this champion, you definitely give this champion a chance. So Leo, just a sleeper champion. I would be surprised to see what people are doing with a mage like this that does tons and tons and tons of hits when fully awakened. Awakening really matters on this champion being a good option for this. Next up, we have, and we're almost done with the list here, but we're still working. This one is a champion that I discovered, and I was like, the kit doesn't reflect how fast this champion can attack, and that's Navras. Navras attack, it says burst damage, but it doesn't say anything about increased attack speed here. His ultimate, Spirit Raven, summons Spirit Ravens to attack random targets in range, each Raven dealing 50% magic damage, lasting 12 seconds. Damage of each Raven goes up. Skill cost drops down by 300 down to 700, which is awesome. And it's manual, so you can do it. But this ultimate, y'all, does a ton of hits. I really never kept track of how many hits, but it's very, very rapid fire. If you think of Nazim, who's also on this list, he does an attack, and you can literally see that it's just a ton of attacks going to one target or to other targets. But he doesn't have to worry about random targets and range. There's only one target to worry about. So it's a great option for this content. I think if you have Novers, give him some attack speed, let him do this ultimate, and you'll be surprised at how fast a mage can deal damage in this content. He's a really good option. Next up, we have who I just spoke about, Nazim. I'm not a big fan of Nazim because he takes a lot to get going. They tried to make a damage dealer that heals champs around him and can heal him, but it sounds good on paper, but it never really works out in the content and most of the other content in the game. This is different in this content because his burst damage is wonderful, and this is every half second for 15 seconds, and every champion, every enemy he's hit at least 4 times, he deals an additional 140% damage and inflicts stun. You don't have to worry about stunning this content. You're not stunning the boss that way. You got to break the shield, but it's a great way to get additional hits very rapidly. If you don't have other options, he's not a bad option to have. It's not bad when you have a champion that attacks for 15 seconds and can probably take out 25% of the shield by himself. So that's a really good thing to consider. Along with his original attack, I wish this attacked twice. That would be great. I don't even care if it's 25% 2 times. I wouldn't care. It would have made him a even better option for this content. Next up, we have a champion that I'm going to tell you guys not to use. Give me 1 second. The champion that I will tell you guys not to use, even though sometimes people are feeling like that she's doing a lot of damage and working really fast, is Aona. Aona is a trap for this content. Do not use Aona for one reason and one reason only. Even though her attacks do like 4 to 5 hits when she does them, that sounds amazing. Sometimes it looks good. Let me tell you something. This attack interval of 3.5 seconds is insanely slow. Only champions that are doing attacks this slow are her and AI. Let's look at AI just to see how slow our attack speed. I think hers is even slower, but for good reason. 5 seconds. Aona has one of the slowest attack speeds in the game. I don't care if it says anything about increase of attack speed on her build. She is not fast. She is not a good option for this. Do not use her unless you have time on your hands and you just want to waste your day. Do not do it. Do not do it. I got to be honest with you guys. I know somebody's like, yeah, she's amazing. Then they don't count the actual hit she's not doing. Another champion, I'm a little against the fence on this champion. I don't know if she's going to be amazing, is Amani. Main reason being because when she comes onto the stage, well, not when she enters the stage, but she starts with it if you get her awakened. But when she enters Overload, which is her ultimate, basically what it means, her ultimate, she increases her attack speed by 140 and damage dealt by 240 for 20%. For 20 seconds. Well, I killed that one. This is a long video, guys. Bear with me. When Overload ends, as soon as she goes to Awaken 1, that goes away. You don't have to worry about that. But the main reason people use her is to put her in, let her do all that stuff, and pull her out. The downside is her initial attack only does 1 hit. So it's like you have a chance of getting some really fast attacks. If you build her for the speed, you can get something out of her. But you're more than likely going to find champions that can do a better job than this because this is intensive gear requirement to pull off. So if you have it, sure. But if you have it, you probably already have better options. So I'm just mentioning it just so you guys are aware of it. Amani could work when she comes in and do her ultimate and get some fast hits in. But it doesn't pay off as much as some people may think that she does. Next off, we have this champion is a surprise option. I don't think he's going to be insane, but I think that he's going to help more teams than people admit. Soath. I already have him on screen. Soath is going to be great for 2 reasons. One, his ultimate, Trigger Savagery Ritual, increases attack speed by 160 and grants an additional 30 attack speed to allies in range, which lasts for 10 seconds. That's not a very long time, but here's the point. You can drop his skill cost down by 200 and you can build his rage up by 200, which means he's going to have an immediate ultimate once he starts. All right. No. 400 to 600. So he'll have it very close to it to when you guys start. And then if you look at the level 3 and level 5, he increases his attack speed by another 40, which is another 80 altogether, and increases all the allies' attack speed by another 20. So that 30 we just saw is going to equal to be about 70 altogether. That's very nice. Now, adding on to that, other abilities and stuff is good. You know, they deal damage. And I do think that's cool, reaching a maximum of 50% direct damage and 30% blast damage. So that counts as 2 hits, which is nice. But we go here into Awaken 5, the enchanted bubbles can bounce one more time and even to the attack targets, which means they can hit the same target more often. Now, that's not the one. A3 is the one. Yes. When attacking, the caster has a 25% chance to fire an additional enchanted bubble with 50% power, which means those 2 attacks could turn into 4 hits. So it's not a bad option. Also, considering that he's increasing the attack speed of a whole bunch of champions around him, it's not a bad option to have on your team if you don't have any other option. Now, last resort champions. If you don't know what are good options for this, start with this. Look for champions that have 2-hit basic attacks. Those are usually a good sign. Look for champions that have increased attack speed or specialized attack speed in their attacks. Or identified in their kit. Those are usually a good sign. And I'm not thinking Dolores is going to be a great option for this. I will say you don't need incredible heals, so she may help you, fit the bill there. The only reason I would use a Dolores is if you can break the shield and you really want to get high damage quickly. If you want to get high damage quickly in the first or the second shield, or you can break the third shield, you just want to do crazy damage right after it, then she's not a bad option in that case. Another champion, you're going to laugh at me for this, but I had to show it because I found him. This is if you just don't care anymore. Drogo. I'm not saying he's a great option. Just go ahead and make it clear. Keep it clear. But his ultimate gives you, 10 waves within a radius, 2 tiles on the enemy range. Each wave dealing 100% damage to up to 10 enemies. You're not worried about 10 enemies being hit. But it's not bad that you're getting 10 waves of arrows. So that does kind of help if you wanted to really just troll and you got double S or triple S and you're so good you got space for a spare champ. Throw a Drogo in there if you just want to brag a little bit. But I will say, that being said, that has been the full list of this content. That's every champion that I could look up and say these champions are good options. I told you guys which ones aren't great options, so don't get too lost on the ones that aren't that magnificent and hope that they're awesome. For speed, I'm going to put this video out immediately. I was going to do extra animations on the characters and stuff, but I think you guys want this content, so I'm going to put it out almost immediately so you guys can have fun with it, prepare for this content, and plan so you don't perish. Remember, you can practice this content as well. You can jump right into the easy mode and just see how well your teams do together. That was something that I promised. So I'll throw that in here just so you guys can see an example of it. So I keep pressing raise when it's time to go to something else in this game. I don't know why. I keep doing that. So this is Boss Challenge Hard. He's going to come on the game in the next 6 hours and 2 minutes. So pretty soon. But Easy Boss Challenge, I never updated this team. I've gotten new champs since then. So I'm going to go to challenge here. You can see my initial team. I just got Cetron, but I didn't really put him in, in the mix that much. You see I'm using Navarus. Decent option. Hollow because I wanted good heals. Idra because she's very consistent. And who would I update in this team? I would... it's funny. I was actually thinking that I didn't upgrade Cetron and add Cetron to the team. I had somebody instead of him. I cannot remember who I had before, but I replaced him because I got Cetron. So I think I actually did. Oh yes, my original option before that was Kaneza. Not an amazing option for this content, but like I said before, double hit her initial attack. And she does her ultimate, which does another 2 attacks, which is not bad. You hook her up with the artifact that allows her to do additional damage. I'll show you guys which one I was talking about. It is the Watchguard's Ambition. Has a 10% chance to trigger another basic attack. I think Fully Awakened, it becomes a 20% chance. So if you have champions like Deos, it says basic attack. That's a 20% chance of doing 8 hits every attack. So that's really good to know in mind for you guys. I actually don't think I'm going to need to do another run because this is the team that I pretty much maxed out to build right now. These are the champs I'm most comfortable using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this bad boy tomorrow. I'm going to make this video, I don't know, another 40 seconds shorter for you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing evening. This has been Mortar Mike. I'm going to go get some chapstick because it's been a long behind video and I've been talking up a storm, but I hope it's giving value to you guys. Once again, it's go time. Hope you have an awesome night and I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully on the leaderboards, kicking butt. Take care.